Hi, I'm Eric Lenask. We're here in San Jose, California this week with the TMC Roadshow, and I'm talking with Jonathan Rendy from Appcelerator. God, I almost forgot the name. So, Appcelerator, I'm going to take a shot and say we're talking about mobile apps. What do you do with mobile applications?
We really have the next generation mobile platform where developers will go in, develop applications in a single code base, and up to 90% of the reuse for that application. They can deploy a native application on an iPhone or on an Android device or even a mobile web device.
So when you say up to 90% reuse, you're referring to developers' ability to build an app for iOS, then transfer it to for an Android app and reuse code.
Yep, exactly.
Now, so how much of that is up to 90%? How much is typical?
Anywhere between 60 and 90%, depending on what the application needs to do and how it's being built. But what we're finding over and over again is people want to have a rich experience. They don't want to sacrifice the experience of the application in the mobile world for just deploying it anywhere. So that's why, more than anything in the world, people build mobile native applications that run on each device natively.
Now, you enable developers to pull in content from various storage networks and other content delivery mechanisms.
That's right. So, variety of applications people can build in every industry you can name across the board, whether it's retail, finance, hospitality, and consumer apps. And so, at the heart of it, we see mobile applications and applications in general are really at the heart of a storm of three things happening. Mobility, which everybody carries around their smartphone now. It's a part of who they are. So everybody has it, and everybody has it on at all times. The second one is cloud, which means any application that talks to the cloud from the mobile device can be available and have performance all the time, anywhere. And the last one is social. It kind of means getting the right information to all those users that have that device on all the time at the right point in time with the right information to make decisions. So the uses, it's transforming businesses across the board. It's changing business models. And that's really the reason why people are coming to Appcelerator as the platform to build their next generation of applications.
So when you say people are coming to Appcelerator, who are the typical users or your typical customers?
Well, we have independent developers today, and that's why Appcelerator and the products themselves, the applications built with them, behind native iOS apps are the #1 downloaded application on the Apple iStore today. So it's just independent developers who are going out, creating applications for themselves, any consumer-based application. The other category is companies, organizations, enterprises that are building applications to really change the business model. Maybe they're building an extension to what the sales force will do. Maybe they're building a distributor application to share from a retail perspective how to go out and make sure that all their market products are displayed the right way in all the distribution channels. Tons of different uses and ways and benefits in the enterprise along with consumer apps.
What's really the advantage or the goal for you? Is it to make it simple to develop apps, or really what is the intent?
Most importantly, like I said before, people don't want to sacrifice the experience. The biggest thing that's happening is in the enterprise today, and that second group of customers is bring your own device, BYOD. So people are used to a certain experience on their mobile device for consumer apps, and then they go to the enterprise, and often they get an experience that looks like the last century. So they really want to have the same experience in both places, and it's driving building applications that will take advantage of all of the capabilities on these mobile devices, which are powerful computers now.
Right. So when we talk about sort of a consistent experience, there are obviously some other app development companies out there that at least claim to be able, you can develop an app for Android, for iOS, all in one shot, do it once and you're done. But you've told me that you can reuse, say, 60 to 90% of the code. So what's the difference between what those folks are doing and what you're doing?
Yeah, if people use a mobile web approach, it means that basically you build that application, it'll run in any browser. Now there's different browsers and they take advantage of probably a lesser set of native capabilities of the phone. So it's good for publishing type applications, form-based applications, if you're pushing information to be read. But if you really want your end users to interact with that application, they need to take advantage of the native device. They need to have the application built to run native on that and then communicate to the back end.
So really, if you want to be able to take advantage of the features that have been built into the phone, you need to build a native app.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's interesting is what's happening, the trends in the market. So we do a quarterly mobile developer survey. It's the largest on the planet. And we just have released the survey, the results of it. Over 3,600 developers we go out, because people are always asking the question, what's going to win, iPhone or Android? What's going on with Microsoft? The survey really gives us a feel quarter by quarter as how the shifting sands are moving.
And how are they moving?
So it's interesting. 3 quarters ago, Android and iPhone were neck and neck. About 44% of developers, both for each, were planning to build apps on both. That's really shifted in the past 2 or 3 quarters. Now it's 53% in the recent report on iPhone, 37% on Android. So a 15% gap has opened up, and it kind of begs the question,
why?
Why? And I think what it is enterprises, what we see in general, companies, corporations, because of security and because of ubiquity, they're moving to Apple en masse. And so that's creating the gap. And we've seen this slow erosion of Android over the past 2 or 3 quarters. What's interesting is that erosion is slowing down now. And so what we're starting to see is the price point of an Android device is overriding kind of the challenges of the fragmentation of all the flavors of Android out there for developers. So it's starting to stabilize.
You think we'll see the two come closer together again?
Could be, if people start to standardize more when it comes to Android. I think the big telltale sign, or the big summary that is developers working for companies know they have to deploy a native application, a native experience, a rich experience on both environments. And it's expensive to do it purely for each operating system. And that's what's driving them to cross-platform tools. So over 80% of developers surveyed in this are using cross-platform mobile environments to build applications, not just for one, but for multiple.
So how many, do you have a sense of how many, I don't know if you survey on this, how many developers are leveraging HTML5?
So that's the 2 ends of the spectrum. Quite a few, but it's a different class of application. So overall, it's a smaller percentage. Clearly, more people are building native apps than HTML5. The trick and the challenge is, how do you create an environment that can do HTML and native at the same time?
Interesting. A lot of talk recently coming out of Microsoft in the mobile environment. Where do you see that fitting in?
Yeah, in the survey we saw tons of interest from developers. 80% of developers said they were interested in exploring the Windows platform, Windows 8. And the reason why we think that's the case is because of the new Windows 8 tablet. It's generating a lot of interest, number one, and number two, just the interface of the operating system is well done. And so there's a lot of people looking at that saying, what can I do with this next?
And Microsoft has at least a little bit of brand power.
Just a little bit in the developer community.
One last question. Where does BlackBerry sit these days?
So we've been working with BlackBerry, and clearly they're aggressively working to push out their new version of their operating system. We see an erosion in the customer base of BlackBerry in general from the survey results. So clearly people are moving to the existing iOS environments, the Android environments, and as I mentioned, the interest in Windows. So it's in a 4th place position right now.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens between Microsoft and BlackBerry and whether they can cut into the lead that Android and Apple have built.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, great. It's been talking to you. Thanks for joining us here at the TMC Roadshow.
Thank you, Eric.